So after reviewing the confusion matrix, and as we just saw in this previous slide here, where we looked at how we identify our accuracy, our precision, and our recall, which are metrics that we're going to use to help identify how strong our models are, we now have to think of a process of being able to develop data mining models and test them. So commonly what we do is we have a pile of data that's been pre-processed in our data warehouse. We take 2/3 of it and we use this as training data. This training data helps us develop our model. This is plugged into our data mining algorithm, and then some type of structure, usually in an algorithm, is created based on this training data. And that is our model. Now with that, we take the other third of our data and we use this as testing data. We take that model that we developed with the training data and we apply it to our testing data. And then we use our confusion matrix to determine how well that model scores in predicting our outcomes. Well, this is a very common practice, and it's usually the 2/3 to 1/3 split, or the 70-30 split is used in most classification type models. However, depending on the data mining model used, such as neural networks, sometimes it's split into 3 sets, such as 60% training, 20% validation, and 20% testing. As you learn more about different types of models, you'll know that how you split your training and testing data can change over time. So here's a quick graphical representation of how their validation can be made in certain models. One example is that you take a subset of your data, let's say 10% of it, and then you use that to develop your model. And then you do that again with your next 10% and your next 10% and next 10%. And as it goes through all of your data, then you can use the summation of all of your results as for validation. That's another way of being able to cross-validate our classification models, right? So there are still some other terms or other means of which we can use classification. There is leave one out. There's what's called bootstrapping, which is a random sampling technique, jackknifing, or also what we fondly refer to as the ROC curve, or area under the curve, which gives us some terms that are very similar to the confusion matrix. Here is an example of a ROC curve, or area under the curve. Typically, the x-axis represents the false positive rate. So obviously, you would like to have something that would have a low number of false positives, and the y-axis is a true positive rate. So you'd really want it to have a high value of true positives. So you can see the area under the curve C would be 50%, because it involves 50% of the entire square, which is the area of the curve. So this gives us an idea that our model, if it fits under C, is at 50% accurate. Now, as our false positive rate decreases and our true positive rate increases, our curve will start to bubble, and our area under the curve will increase. So this area under B could be as much as 65%. And then area under C could be 75 to 80%. So what we want to do is eventually get 100% under the curve, which is near impossible. but you can see how the shape of a curve can identify some kind of idea about how accurate our model predictions are. So you can see in this example, curve A produces an area under the curve of 0.84 or 84%. Some measures to take note of, we can see that a random chance is 50% and perfect is at 100%, as we talked about previously. So a good assessment is really anything that would be better than a random chance. So really we're looking for anything with a AUC of greater than 50%. There are a variety of different types of classification techniques that you can always use. Decision trees, statistical analysis, neural networks, vector machines, and so on. As I mentioned before, data mining is a tool that you can use in a variety of different ways, and there is a plethora of algorithms that can be used in order to be able to make best sense of your data mining projects. The most important thing when it comes to dealing with any kind of data mining algorithm is you understand what your algorithm does and make sure it's a good fit for the type of analysis you're trying to conduct. Here are just a few examples of how some different classifiers work, and these are graphical representations. I pulled these from a variety of different websites. And you can review these on your own and just kind of study them a little to see if it helps clarify how different classifiers may work. This is the Bayesian network type classifier, which uses current weather to be able to get some type of forecast. Here's a neural network, which is based on the human brain. It takes a variety of different inputs and tries to make combinations so that way it can have some kind of output to validate what it is that's actually being seen or predicting what can be seen. Decision trees is very popular. Basically, it divides data up into multiple nodes and provides a probability for certain nodes to occur. Okay. So data can be split into different means for predictive analysis and then ensembled again together to be able to evaluate some type of prediction. And this can be used for decision making. All right, we'll pause there and then continue on with cluster analysis in the next set of videos.